Welcome back to the Fans the Home Team podcast. This is Kelsey, and this podcast is going to be my interview with my good friend and former classmate Palmer Clarkson. Palmer is an avid St. Louis Cardinals fan, so being a Chicago Cubs fan myself, we talk a lot about the rivalry in baseball just on a day-to-day basis, so I thought I'd be a great person to interview for Fans of the Home Team. Palmer met both Miranda and myself while we were all in grad school at the University of South Florida. We were in the second year of our program while Palmer was in his first year. And he's really just one of those guys you kind of gravitate towards, and we become even better friends outside of school. He's got his own business, Headway Coffee, and then I also run this business, Fans of the Home Team. So we spent the last couple of years trying to help each other out and making our dreams a reality. This interview was the very first one we ever did for Fans of the Home Team. And if you scroll all the way down on our Instagram page, you'll see the post for it. This interview really made me realize that we as fans, even fans of rival teams, have much more in common than we all think. And I hope you enjoy this interview as much as I did. Palmer, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you became a fan of the St. Louis Cardinals.
My fandom was developed when I was born, actually. My dad has a picture of me in just decked out in Cardinals gear when that was like one of the first pictures ever taken. So I was like, I'm a Cardinals fan, like zero choice, picked for me.
What are some of your favorite memories being a Cardinals fan?
One, I'll say this. So when I grew up, growing up, watching the Cardinals, went back to about 2004, 2006. So, I mean, we're talking Skip Schumacher, and all this stuff. Edgar Renteria, Pujols, Molina, even Larry Walker, kind of nuts. But whenever those dudes were playing on the 2004 squad, my dad and I would be watching these. We go to Cherries, which is like this. I don't know if there's Cherries outside of Florida, but it's like a bar and grill type deal. And so we would go and watch these playoff games. And even 2006 was the big year when we used to do this. But whenever it was playoff time, my dad would sign me out of school early, and we would go watch games at Cherries. So, and that was like the best spot, because we would go there. Obviously, it's like a half day for me, so I'm feeling great. And then there's a huge arcade there. So we would always play like games and stuff afterwards. But during the game, I mean, we're religiously watching this game, every single pitch. And so that's fun. I think my favorite moment in general is definitely the 2011 World Series. So here's another story for you. This is a good one, I promise. So 2011, we're down 3-2 to the Texas Rangers. And so my dad and I are just kind of going back and forth, like, dang, we should be there, yada, yada, we should be there. The day that Game 6 was supposed to be played actually got rained out. So the next day, which is when Game 6 is now supposed to play, I'm sitting in school, and I remember texting my dad back and forth. And I'm sitting there like, you call yourself a Cardinals fan, and we're not in the World Series. We're not in St. Louis. Like, what are we doing? Like, what are we doing? Like, I'm at the age where, like, and I'm talking like this year, out of like 162 games, we probably watched 140. Like, no exaggeration. We had the MLB ticket. We're just guns a-blazing. And so I'm sitting there, and I'm just texting him like, you call yourself a Cardinals fan? And so I go to lunch, and during lunch, they get on the announcements, and they're like, hey, because they would do this, and they'd be like, hey, Palmer, you're supposed to like go to the office, you're signing out. I'm like, what are we doing? Like, what's going on? And so I get there, I get in the car, and my dad's like, I bought 2 plane tickets. So we go back to the house, get our stuff, and then my mom was not happy. My mom was not happy because she was like, John, my dad's name, how are you just taking Palmer? You're not taking Cole, yada, yada, yada. Meanwhile, little side break, my brother that year was like, hey, can you guys just stop playing Cardinals baseball so I can watch SpongeBob? So let's jump back. Of course, we're not bringing Cole because
the hater.
I mean, he wants to watch SpongeBob. You know, he's younger, and you know that's okay. That's okay. But so my mom's pissed. We go anyways. Granted, we don't have tickets at all, so we end up flying in just in time, drop off our bags, get to the stadium, and there's like 15 to 30 minutes till game time. And so my dad likes to tell the story, but I'm going to keep it short for your sake and for everyone's sake, because he likes to say that there's like a twinkle in this guy's eye. Yeah, I mean, he's all about the story. But as far as my story goes, we end up getting tickets from a scalper, and for relatively cheap, center field bleacher seats. And at first, my dad's like, I'm not sitting no bleacher seats. And so we finally get in. What we see the first pitch, which is wild because we didn't have tickets. We flew in that day. It was like crazy. And so then it just ends up being like the best game and debatably the greatest game of all time. So 2011 Game 6 World Series has got to go down as probably by far my best sports moment, my favorite sports moment just in general, and then obviously Cardinals.
That's fair.
So.
That's fair. I don't know if I'd call it the best game of all time.
I feel like you're a little biased over there.
I'm a bit biased, but it's fine. What are some of your biggest heartbreaks, which I'm sure I'll take great pleasure in hearing, being a Cubs fan? What are some of those moments for you, bud?
You were probably happy to see Pujols leave the division because he single-handedly destroyed the Cubs.
Fair, yeah.
So that has to be one of like the biggest losses and heart-wrenching moments, heartbreaks. Cardinals history is not keeping that dude. I understand the money that he wanted, but at the same time, it was just like, come on. This dude would have had the biggest statue of all time, which Yachty's probably gonna get, but that's another story. That's another topic of discussion. But I would say definitely Pujols or I would say 2013. I think it was 2013 World Series. I watched two professional Major League Baseball players go up to the plate during the World Series and watch 3 straight strikes and walk back to the dugout. That was when I was just like, we just don't have it this year. We're not going to win it because these guys don't want it. So that was tough to swallow as well.
There's just people that I think should be on your team their entire career.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Forever.
And there's not very many of those guys that come along. So I definitely want it.
Yeah, no. Especially Pujols, he's going to go up there as one of the best players of all time.
Right. Yeah, that's a tough one to watch. Money's weird.
Yeah. Very.
I have $10, so I don't understand, but
put that in FanDuel.
What are some of your favorite players from over the years? Obviously Pujols, but who else?
Pujols, David Eckstein for sure.
Yeah.
Back in 2006, that dude. I think especially at the time, I'm 5'10" now, but like for most of my life, I was 5 foot, 5'3", 5'4", 5'5". Like high school, I was very small, and even obviously before that, but I think watching a guy like David Eckstein really excel, and he won MVP of the World Series that year. So I think that was just like a really cool testament to what you can do just in life in general. So that was, I've always loved David Eckstein for that. He killed it before with the Angels. So that I would say, this is a good one. So I would say Waino and Yachty, 100%. Like, you have to throw those dudes in. In Yachty We Trust, I have a T-shirt with that, so that's always dope. And then let's see, Chris Carpenter, absolute stud. I still miss Scott Rowland. I think that was a heartbreak too. You could definitely throw that in. That was a huge heartbreak, losing that dude to Cincinnati of all freaking people. Like, come on. Come on.
Gross.
Why are we going to the Reds? Like, both of us can agree as Cardinals and Cubs fans. Well, I'm a Cardinal fan, Cubs fan. I don't want to put those two together. We're separate fans. We're separate franchises. But we both don't like the Reds. I don't think I ever will.
No, I don't think. I think the NL Central is such a division that just everybody does not like each other. I don't like any other team in the NL Central.
Yeah. I mean, I've told you this before, but I'm just glad that I can hate y'all again, you know?
Right. It's fair. I guess I hate the Pirates the least just because they just they're so bad. It's just so bad.
They're garbage. They're garbage. I did miss the old Pirates.
Yeah.
Probably back in like 2011, they gave the Cardinals a tough time. But yeah.
What makes you keep being a fan year after year?
I think it's easy for me to, because just like I still have family in St. Louis. I went to college in St. Louis. My parents are from St. Louis. I just think the tradition, the baseball tradition, and like being a Cardinals fan is so ingrained. I think the tradition is so strong with the Cardinals.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's so strong. And I also think like the character from the people on the team, like I'm unique, and you know this, as far as like we're both unique in the sports industry because we've worked behind the scenes. We might have like talked and seen the players. Like I've talked to a couple of the players that are on the team like right now. They might not know or remember, but like there were times where I was helping volunteering at an event where they'd come by. And so I love the players too that the Cardinals bring on. I think they're always, for the most part, stand-up guys. And I think you can't say that for the rest of the league. That's like no jabs at anyone else specifically. That's not a jab for the Cubs because the Cubs have a lot of great dudes. So I just think like specifically for the Cardinals, they have a track record of really bringing in good dudes, and I think that helps.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I won't say anything against it. I don't disagree. There's definitely teams with worse people on them.
Oh, okay. Thanks.
Just like I don't know. This is throughout.
Yeah, facts.
What's something you wish you could tell the team, like the players and the people in the organization?
The GM, or is it just everyone else?
Yeah, whoever you want to talk to, bud. What do you want to tell them?
I mean, there's been a lot of things I've wanted to say to Mo, our GM, as far as keep Pujols. Like there's like we were talking about, like there's certain players that you can't let go.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can't let walk. And so I would have loved to be in that room where they were like, hey, we're just going to let Albert Pujols walk away. Like, I don't know in what world we lived in. He might not have been the GM. I think he was maybe assistant GM, but still, like, in what world do we live in to where you would let a top 5 player of all time walk away from your team just to play just over what, 20 million?
Yeah.
Like you're already paying him a ridiculous amount of millions. Like we're already up there. So like, right. What's going on? I would say, I mean, I always like grew up, even we went to the same, I don't know if the crowd or the people know if like where we met each other, but in grad school, like when I first came in, That was what I wanted to be ultimately, was like a GM one day, like president of baseball operations, where I'd be able to like be player side. And so I would love to be in that room just to like see how that process goes down, because I feel like I grew up playing baseball. I feel like I have a pretty good IQ for baseball. And so I like to say that I could be in that spot and do a pretty good job. So I'd love to sit there and see what he thinks, how he runs things. I would say I would always love to talk to Wayno. Wayno is a great dude. And I love talking to him. Yeah, I love talking to him. He's a great guy. And then let's see, what are some other dudes I haven't talked to on the team? Paul Goldschmidt would probably be cool. I got to talk to Matt Carpenter and Bader a little bit. Those are good dudes as well. So it's not like I haven't done it before. So I would just, and I think there's, and it like, yes, it comes from a fan level, but also comes from obviously working from behind the scenes to, I just want to know them as a person, first and foremost. Like I could care less if they're a baseball player or not, because they're cool dudes. So.
Fair. If you do step in the GM role, what are the things that you would do? How are you improving the team? Who you getting rid of?
So right now, I was looking at the roster actually a couple of days ago and today, and we need some depth. We have zero depth, like zero depth. This is going to be controversial.
Okay.
I do not like Paul DeYoung. I just do not like him. Even when he was like killing home runs and like killing it a couple of years ago, I remember having a conversation with my dad, and my dad loves Paul DeYoung. And I like him as a person, but we're talking strictly baseball and on the field. I think he's so inconsistent. I don't know what we're going to get out of him. So that was the first thing, is I want a new shortstop first and foremost, which I think Tommy Edman could probably fill a role for a little time. Carp's probably going to play second. Probably need some pitchers, because our especially in the bullpen. But and then who knows who's going to be the catcher one day after Yachty, because that's something they've known this, so we're grooming probably some peeps, but we might want to try and accelerate that process, because we never know. So I'd say first and foremost shortstop, and then depth. We need depth big time coming off the bench, and even a little bit for outfield. I think we're good with outfield right now, but that's about it.
Yeah, depth's definitely important, especially down the stretch. I think these guys are, coming off a season where they didn't play. They played half a year, really, if that. Exactly. So it's going to be interesting to see how guys hold up playing a whole season.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
How would you describe the Cardinals fandom in one word, and why?
All right. This is like such a like typical word, but local or loyal. If we can get through someone like Albert Pujols leaving and still like be just as good of fans and still going to Busch Stadium and watching games and stuff of that nature, I think that just says a lot about a franchise in general. And I feel like there's trust in that loyalty, because just of all the greats that have played before with the Cardinals, and even the new signing that we just got, and even the stud that we already have, Paul Goldschmidt, but Nolan Arenado is going to be one of those dudes that can really add value. Right. But I'd say, definitely loyal. No,
I think it's a good word. I don't think a lot of teams can actually use it. I think every team's fans would say that, but, can the Miami Marlins say they have loyal fans?
No, absolutely not.
Not every team
absolutely not. Yeah. That's
Exactly.
funny. Yeah.
If you could tell, talk to the fandom as a whole and just tell them what being a fan of the Cardinals has meant to you, what would you say?
I mean, I just think even when I was like reminiscing, and even as we're talking right now about like the memories and stuff, like it just brings back very happy memories. Like there's not a bad memory that I have where I'm like, oh, I remember feeling terrible being a Cardinal fan.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say just like the constant joy that it brings. Even if I'm not like too much in it for 1 year,
Mm-hmm.
I would say like there's always positivity that comes out of it. There's always joy. There's always like, I mean, the feeling of being there in 2011 for Game 6, and we ended up staying for Game 7, and then the parade was just top notch. But like that feeling, that like the joy and like that feeling of like that journey, like that process, like being on that process, that journey with them is like just a very cool feeling. So I'd say definitely joy, positivity in general.
Well, I appreciate it. It's all the questions I got. Crushed.
Okay. Yeah, no, I appreciate you bringing me on. It's always fun to talk some sports, and of course for you, and I'll do whatever you need. I got it.
Such a goat.
Hey,
such a goat.
Now I'm looking at one. So
that's true. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast, and thank you, Palmer, for joining us and being our guinea pig for this entire business. We appreciate you more than you ever know. Next podcast, we'll be back to me and Miranda talking about sports entertainment, so please stay tuned. And check out our link tree, which you can find in the description of the episode. This is our one-stop shop for you to all find our social media accounts and also sign up to share your fandom story with us. So you don't miss any of our upcoming podcasts. Subscribe to us on whatever platform you're listening on. And if you're really feeling generous, go ahead and share with a friend or leave us a review. Every little bit helps since we're starting out. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.